musicals. And
I want to go to an actual Broadway
we
show.
can still actually go.
But I want to be sitting there going like, why is this fucking guy singing everything? What does he want from me? What the fuck does he want from me? What am I supposed to do now? What in the living fuck is going on? Who wrote this?
Could you just... Oh my God, sitting in the theater and having somebody sit next to you and say that, oh my God, it would be horrifying.
You love it.
I mean, it's hilarious, but if I'm sitting there listening, having to go, oh my God, I don't know what to do. Because I can't answer him.
By the way, sitting here with Keith Price and Charles Goforth, two of the two people that you should never say what I just said. Two.
Actually, you know what? It's true. If you like musicals and you go to bad ones, you have to pretend that you're not thinking exactly that. Because we all think that. Like, why is he fucking singing right now? Why?
Oh, really? Can we start? By the way, I think I'm going to tell you something.
Song.
We've been recording. We've been recording this whole time. Is that a problem if we've been recording? Would you like? You want to get the headphones on?
Sure.
It's time for Three People Like This interviews with a man whose brain is so fucked up that there's really no medical term for what he is. T.J. Stone.
We're starting the podcast.
Why is this fucking guy singing?
Why is he singing? Jesus Christ.
Everything's singing. They're killing Jews.
Who wrote this?
It's the Holocaust podcast musical for you.
Oh, dear
Thank you.
Yeah, that's the obligatory clap at the end of every song, no matter how good it is or
This
not.
is the cultural. How do you? What's the word when somebody gets culture instilled upon them? I didn't want to say culturization because it sounds like something you do to butter.
Education.
The education of T.J. Stone.
The musical education.
I'm terrified right now. I have fucking evolved people to the left, Keith Price, evolved people to the right, Charles Goforth,
and we don't know who this guy.
And a homicidal maniac making coffee in front of me, Afrim Gjonbalaj.
Afrim Gjonbalaj.
Yeah, with the fucking dead cold eyes of a killer. Looking at me like, you better evolve and be nice or you're dead.
Or you're dead.
That's right.
Evolve by choice.
Evolve by choice. I wish that we could just implement that in general, just for everyone.
Evolve by choice.
Evolve by choice, or we're just going to drag you into the fucking 20th century, 21st century, and stop the stupid shit.
It's interesting because that's the interview I did with Charles the other day.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was not. No, that wasn't it. But it's what I brought up, right?
That would have been a good segue, actually. If the interview had anything to do with it. But
true.
The interview had nothing to do with it, but I went there. Right?
But it was still a good segue.
It was all right, right?
Yeah, it was
but
all
see,
right.
this is what you should. You always have to build your segues so that you have it in the back of your brain whenever you just toss it out.
I have nothing, man. I have nothing. I wrote some notes, but then it turned into
You always write notes and we never do them.
I know. I don't know why I write them, but I did an interview with Charles.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. You were great, TJ.
Thank you, man.
Thank you, man. It was all serious and like spiritual, and he was great.
It was. It was very uncomfortable for me.
Yeah.
I went outside of my zone. That's a technique.
You
I
fooled
learned
me though. You looked you looked like you fit right in.
Thank you.
You're a bit of a philosopher, I think.
Because it was it's called compassneedle.org. What is compassneedle.org?
It's a website that I started just to be able to share with people who are interested what we're up to. It was like a platform to show, like, here are the playwrights we're commissioning, here's the art we're commissioning, and here's the idea around which we are trying to stir up a conversation, which is why we're commissioning the art. So that it was just a way of trying to say, hey, here's what we're up to, in case you want to check it out. It was like but then I realized, oh, you know what? Given the fact that we're trying to create a conversation, we've commissioned playwrights, and that's incredible. They're incredibly talented people. And then it occurred to me, like, in addition to the plays that we end up with or whatever art we end up with, the whole process of what we're doing is actually as important as what we actually end up with, because that's the point of creating the conversation. So the website became like not just a vehicle, but it became like the thing, as like one of the things we're doing. Yeah. Right. So and I realized, oh, right, of course.
For the 99.8% of my audience that don't don't understand what a commissioned playwright is.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what a commissioned playwright is? I love when I nod like I know. Oh yeah, commissioned.
Sounds great.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
hell is that?
That's a playwright who was elected commissioner.
Commissioner, that's right.
Right.
No, actually, it's simple. You just pay somebody and you say, hey, hey, here's some money. Write for me.
Write what?
Write a play. Yeah.
Based on. So you give them the parameters.
Well, yeah, you give them an idea. I mean, most playwrights don't usually get parameters when they get commissioned. You give the money and you say, we believe in you. We like what you've done so far. So here's a little bit of money, and please write us something. Let us know when you're done, and we'd like to produce it.
Oh wow!
But my compassneedle.org comes with a theme. So we're talking about service to others and serving oneself, and some of those ideas. But so my commissions come with, could you please respond to this question?
That's amazing.
So it's got a little bit of attached. It's got a thing attached to it.
No, he's there. Look, we're trying to act professional, but Afrim can't find his seat. And,
Sorry.
Hi, Afrim.
Hello. I was just making coffee.
So look, Afrim Gjonbalaj.
Yeah, close enough. That's good.
Is everybody sounding good?
Yeah.
Everything, because
I
I'm not
can
an
tell.
engineer by trade, and I've made this happen. I'm very humble.
This room is incredible, man. I got to say.
Thank you, brother.
It's nice to be here. I wish people could see it because it's really great.
Well, we bought a $75,000 4K camera from Bruno Derlin, who's my partner and also I suspect a child molester. I'm not sure, but I have my doubts. He's a horrible, despicable human being. And that $653,000 4K camera that's been sitting there collecting dust is supposed to be like us going into the new realm of video podcasting.
I'm not dressed for that, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, none of us, we're not ready for that right now.
Well, actually, I feel very cute today. Don't you speak for y'all.
Sorry,
I'm ready for a selfie anytime.
You do look good today. You do look good today.
When people can see it, they'll see it.
That's right.
It's amazing the series of events that brings people together. You guys, I'm sitting here because Afrim and I know each other, and then
yeah, I know Afrim.
You know Afrim. He asked me to be interviewed by him, and Keith I met on Grumbler. What did I meet you on? Growler?
Grinder.
We were
Grumbler.
Grumbler.
I saw your profile on there too, TJ. I didn't want to say anything, but I was actually really surprised to see you on there.
I whitened the teeth a little bit, but other than that, it's all me.
It's all you.
Grumbler.
All me.
Ready for a selfie?
Yeah, I am.
Sorry, I interrupted.
No, you're not. You're not interrupting. See, it's funny because you. What are you laughing about?
Just so ridiculous.
Yeah, thank you. I don't know what you mean. I'm just happy to be here. I got a cheese and meat right there.
Yes, you are
it
the
says
host.
hard salami on it,
Hard
literally,
salami.
right on top.
I got hard salami and then fruit because I know you open-minded people like fruit.
We do.
Isn't that?
That's right. That's exactly right.
By the way, I'm assuming you're open-minded. You could be a raging right-wing psychopath right now. I don't like no goddamn fruit. I'm going to have to kill this motherfucker here with the goddamn fruit. I walk in, he got fruit.
Where's the meat?
Right. Where's the goddamn caribou? I like to eat caribou. That motherfucker's supposed to have caribou beef jerky, goddammit.
I'm a venison. I like my venison. I want venison.
Yeah, game.
When we did the interview, see, I'm good at segues, bro.
That was good.
I'll fucking segue the fuck out of this room right now.
Right?
Y'all motherfuckers don't know me, son.
All right.
You know what I mean,
The
Keith?
champ of the fucking segues
You
here.
know what I mean? We did the interview, and it was in the Cherry Lane Theater.
Great space.
Great space.
I knew you both would say that. God damn it.
I'm going to go get the food. I'll be right back.
Fucking guy.
These guys in the freaking theater and shit.
I walked in and started sweating.
Is it like for me going to church?
Yes.
TJ walked into the theater, the place of truth. He's like, oh, man.
Oh, they can see right through my soul. You're a caveman. It's like Keith in church.
Are
Well,
they
it
going to
depends
sing?
on what church, Keith.
Yeah.
There's a few in my neighborhood. They don't welcome you with open arms. Trust me. Fucking closet, son of a bitch. Fucking priest, cocksuckers. And I mean that with love and respect to all the cocksuckers that I've known and loved throughout my life. So the interview started sitting in the Cherry Lane Theater, and I'm staring at the stage talking to Charles, and I thought, if Keith could see me now, because his whole thing is get TJ into a theater and watch him crawl out of his skin. trying to.
Personally, I am a little bit upset that you did the theater thing without me.
I didn't know.
But I'm just,
you have to blame my friend.
Well, now, hey, listen. Now we know if we do another one, you're totally there.
I need to be there because clearly he doesn't know how to handle himself when he's there.
I think you might have been surprised, Keith, because he crossed his legs and talked. He was very erudite about theatrical, about the theater and all the stuff we talked. I mean, it was already like
ARYOODIGHT. Are you dyke?
Are you?
No, I'm not.
No.
I do like women, but I don't like to be called a dyke.
I appreciate that.
You fit right in, man. You were you're a philosopher. You did good. I would really enjoy talking.
So how
to
are
you.
we going to see this interview or read about it or what's going down?
It's going to be in the editing process soon. We literally did it this week, Monday. So the footage is being transferred to the editor, and as soon as it's up. Pardon me. As soon as it's up and ready, TJ will know, and then we'll be able to say, "Hey, check it out on the website."
I can't wait.
But he brought,
he's on the stage of the Cherry Theater before fucking me. How's that
I was in the aisles. They would never let me on that
stage. We couldn't let him on the stage.
At quite a good distance.
Yeah, no, we had to hold him back. It was weird because he got excited and he wanted to get up in there, but
yeah, I did.
No, we had to keep him in the chairs.
I wanted to do some shit, some singing and stuff. Just you have to project. Let me just say this, guys.
Yes.
For the record, okay? If you're ever going to do theater acting, as it were, you got to project. Speak from the diaphragm.
From the diaphragm.
Okay? I'll be giving you these little notes. You can write them down. That's number one.
I've written that one. Yeah,
and
I've
then,
got that one down.
No, sitting there talking to Charles, I had known who and what he was a little bit about, his background from Afrim, and Meisner.
Yeah, Meisner. Yeah.
Who is
Meisner?
Sanford Meisner, by the way, guys.
Yeah.
Sandy.
Sanford Meisner. He's the Lenny Bruce of acting training. I mean,
is he really?
Oh my God, the guy.
That's actually an awesome way to put that.
That's who he is. Yeah, and if you're in the circle of 23 people who care,
I think a lot more than 23, 20.
But
8.
No, I'm being a little subconscious because it's jargon, it's theater jargon. It's a guy that helped launch what we think of as American theater and American acting training back in the 20s and 30s.
Really?
He taught for 50 years at a place called the Neighborhood Playhouse in Manhattan.
Wow.
And now if you use that name across the United States in, young people that are learning how to act and theater training circles and internationally, people who are concerned about such things recognize his name immediately.
The Meisner technique.
Sanford Meisner, the Meisner technique. That's right.
Because my whole life I've been a little bit of a clown. I'm not sure if you can know this. But, the people that have been around me, they say I have undiagnosed, what is it? Schizo-diagnosed.
He's multiple personality.
That type of thing.
Oh.
A little MPD.
But
MPD.
really, it's just me slipping into different characters and making the best of it and being funny. And I my whole life, I've always wondered, what is it about people, the human race, that I think back to. Who was the first actor? Who was the caveman? When did it start? Do you ever wonder about that? The history of acting and storytelling and what do you think? What is it about the human race that wants to do this?
Stories.
Stories.
Stories, man. Right. That's what it's all about.
It kind of makes the thing that happened a little better, or you can tell a story. I'm talking about hundreds, thousands of years ago. How far back can we trace? The first play.
Right. Well,
do you know anything about that? Am I out of my mind to say that right now?
I'm remembering some kind of freshman year theater class where the common wisdom is the guys would get back from the hunt and they would need to describe to the rest of the tribe how the hunt went down. So they reenact the hunt.
Oh shit!
Right, and they sort of
if you step on someone's line, you get a spear to the throat.
Yeah, there's no.
You crushed my paws, Bob. You have to die. Oh shit! Why is Lenny hanging from the tree?
Yeah,
he stepped on my line, bro.
Stepped on my line.
No, but that's interesting. That shows you how little schooling I've had. Because that was day one. What kind of caveman are you guys sitting with right now? Where does acting come from? mankind.
Who brought it into the world?
It
brought
actually
it
comes
into
from cavemen, and TJ's head explodes.
Oh shit, that's my
people.
That's my people.
That's right.
But I mean, it's like it's the storytelling, that we all do. Humans, that's the thing. That's the only way that we have any kind of history is from our own storytelling.
Right,
and then somebody at some point in time, once everyone realized that you could actually speak to each other and write stuff down,
Right.
that's how you got to play. Because someone probably said, that's a really great story. Tell me how that happened again. And then all of a sudden it's like, that's a really funny story. We should do that again. How should we do it? Oh, well, it's written here. Let's try it this way. And then there's your play.
Yeah, and children
That's
too.
your first sketch.
It reminds me of children. My nieces, when they were very young, they used to, I'm talking about 8 and 6, would stop everything and have us sit on the couch, and they would put on a 5-minute story.
Yeah, that's how it starts.
That's how it all
And
starts.
so it's in the mind of children too,
Yeah.
And then I fast forward and I think about a guy named like Meisner, and what is it specifically about Meisner that's is he the godfather of were there people contemporaries his age? Like when did acting and teaching acting become a thing?
I would say, if you think about old style, like old fashioned acting, like imagine like the guy who's about to do Othello's monologue, right? Takes a pause, strides to the lip of the stage, puts his hand on the small of his back, looks up into the balcony and speaks. Right. Meanwhile, like Desdemona and Amelia are like way back up on stage, like he's not even dealing with them at the moment because it's time for the monologue.
Right.
So so it's like all presentational. It's like this is now we're doing the thing called acting.
Thing is about to happen.
That's
Right.
So a bunch of Americans in the late 20s and I think it was the early 30s actually, went to the Moscow Art Theater, where the work of Anton Chekhov was being directed by a guy named Konstantin Stanislavski, and they were like, whoa, look at this shit. It's like, it's actually as if they're in a real world and we just happen to be watching, instead of somebody coming out and being like, I know you're watching me.
So now I'm going to do a brilliant thing.
Now it's time for my monologue.
That's
Look
right.
at me. Look at me.
So
Lights.
they brought it back. They brought it back to the States, and they started a way. They used that information to inform the work of what was called the group theater, which was a group of people who are largely credited with sort of at the beginning of what we think of as American acting, Brando and Jane, that was sort of the incubator for that. And they had brought those ideas from the Moscow Art Theater, from that work. So Sanford Meisner was one of those people. Stella Adler, Sanford Meisner, Lee Strasberg, Cheryl Crawford, Harold Clurman, these are all like in the pantheon of the American theater gods who started what we think of as American acting and American acting training. It's like hand in hand. Naturalism,
Naturalism.
Yeah, like realism. Like I'm watching something that's actually happening. Yeah.
It would be like the equivalent of the first handful of American Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belts. That's kind of the way that we'd understand it is like.
I understood it already.
Yeah.
I was just about to say, I was down with your whole comment, but what the hell is this kickboxing and shit?
You're confusing the issue, man. I was clear.
You were very clear.
Very clear.
Sorry, I actually wasn't even listening. What were you guys talking about? I was thinking about nobody made me coffee. I was like,
You should make yourself a cup.
you know what? I'm gonna go make one right now.
I'm sorry.
I'm out of here, guys. I'm sorry.
Afrim,
Let me turn this mic off.
Could you just kind of keep it down where we're talking about
Exactly.
Yeah, we're doing
Czechoslovakians,
Czechoslovakians.
and Stanaheim.
Stanaheim.
Meisner, you walk
Adler.
into like those guys. It seems ego is the first thing that jumps into my mind. Either a guy like Meisner is really egotistical or has a massive love for acting and theater and to dissect. Like if you're him and you're dissecting the way this is going on, what makes you think and how do you know that the way you want to approach it is better?
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of ego, right? It's a little bit of I know how to do this and this is the way to do it, and it's a little bit of passion.
Yeah, it's both. Definitely both.
What is it specifically? What, like if you had to break down the Meisner technique, what is it? How is it? Is it different than Adler, or like, are they similar? Or, you know,
Well, they're all similar. I mean, there's a lot of history around disagreement and agreement, and people being impassioned by differences in the approach. And there's intrigue, and there's palace intrigue around like people not speaking to each other anymore because they got different ideas about it. But if you really look at the trunk of the tree and not all the different branches, it's all very much a piece. It's all part of the same idea.
basically keep a straight face.
Yeah. Like Jimmy Cagney said, look your partner in the eye and tell the truth.
And tell the truth.
That's what Jimmy Cagney said about acting.
And that's old school, and that's way before, right? That's
But
like
that's layered. That's a lot. That you have to be able to break down a lot of things to be able to do that.
Yeah, so Meisner was like, wait a minute, gymnasts, dancers, musicians have these techniques to be really good at what they do. You can't just hand someone a violin and say, yo, a little Shostakovich, please, if you don't mind.
Right,
and
right.
actors training do that all the time. Like, let's see a little Tennessee Williams. Go ahead, let's see a little Tennessee Williams. And, we're under the illusion that we can just like dabble in Eugene O'Neill, and no violinist is under that illusion, and no gymnast is under the illusion that they can dabble in the balance beam, right? You get up at
O'Neill.
you get up at 4:30. Yeah.
O'Neill is one of those pieces that you can't go into O'Neill without at least planning an O'Neill play for you. This is how with TJ we would lose him. Because O'Neill play is one of those plays that, first of all, half of the time you kind of really don't know what's going on.
Oh, really?
And then the second
It's like
part
David
of that,
Lynch?
No. It's just that there's a lot of stuff happening, a lot of deep thoughts and passions and emotions that are happening. And then to add insult to that injury for you, you don't get out in less than 3 hours.
Oh, really? So 3 hours. So you love it.
Yeah.
So you guys love that.
You have to love it
Yeah.
to sit through. Now, mind you, as much as I love Jessica Lange, Long Day's Journey into Night, 3.5 hours, a little long. For
What's
me.
it about, Long Day's Journey into Night?
About some poor, sad woman who's like hung up on morphine. They're all, her and her husband and their kids are all someplace else dealing with her issues,
Right.
her things, and them dealing with their issues of being men in a time when it's hard to just be a man.
You can't just go drink beer and watch baseball at a bar somewhere?
You can, but it doesn't really make for a good experience for the audience.
I'm just kidding.
It's the audience's
It's
battle
not worth
with
100.
sciatica.
No, because that's a good answer actually, but then I don't want to watch you do that.
Yeah. Oh, you just got to see me when I get going, bro. After about 6 or 7,
That's it.
a fucking Long Day's Journey into everybody's night.
How you doing? Brilliant performances, but goddamn.
So the Meisner technique, what is the Meisner technique then? Is, I guess it's, at the end of the day, it's honesty, it's breaking down layers. Like,
Yeah, but it's
one
like
of my
the same rules for comedy too. You got to be honest with comedy to really make it work.
Right. My friend Tom Ellis, who I did a few movies with, I would show up, and a lot of these guys, the guys that I used to do these independent films with, were all like SUNY Purchase, like acting students, like real actors,
right?
And I'm there because I'm just the fat idiot, but we did some. It was acting,
Yeah.
And so Tom, and the way they explained it to me was that good actors have one thing in common, is that fight or flight mechanism doesn't click in an actor. So he would say, "You're a freak. You're a freak because you don't have that. When the cameras go on, you don't have the fight or flight."
Right.
So he said, so that's the first step in breaking down the layers of defense that you have. Because when the curtains open and there's people staring at you, that's a biological response.
Yeah.
Eyes staring at you like you're being hunted.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that biological click.
Yeah.
And that's when I did comedies. I don't know if you've ever felt this did you ever step on stage and feel that fight or flight, that nervous?
Yeah,
that
I do it all the time though. I still feel it.
And you fight it.
Well, you fight it because there's no other choice for you. Like,
There's no choice,
you're up there.
But I mean, there's no other choice in that because you want to be there. That's the thing.
You want it.
And the need and the want to be there to do your 10, 15, 20-minute set is going to still be stronger than the need to run away from doing it. You know
That's
what I mean?
the passion. Then you love. That's why I never loved comedy. because I wanted to get the fuck out of there, and I hated everybody in the room. Why are you looking at me? I don't want you to. I'm not here for you to. Fuck you. I don't care if you laugh or not. I hope you all get hit by a truck on the way out, type of thing. You know,
and hence the comedy career.
And hence the
poppin'.
comedy.
And there it is.
Popping.
I'm doing a little stint at Caroline's next Thursday, but when we were on set, and even right now, like there's people that I've had in here, and I'm like, all right, let's go. We turn on the mics, and people sit down and freeze.
Yeah.
And I can't understand it. I'm like, what the hell's the matter with you? We're gonna have some fun, man.
Yeah.
And
you get exposed, right?
Yes.
Because you get seen. You're being seen and heard, right? And people, if you're not careful, you might actually let people know something about yourself.
And that's
scary. Very scary shit.
That's why they say the number one fear is public speaking, because it was proven that biological response, that fight or flight, like you're actually being hunted, can kick in on certain people. So Tommy would say the first thing about you is that, you know, we're all the same. You may not have went to SUNY Purchase and taken one acting class, obviously, in your fucking life, but you don't have the fight or flight, you know? So the cameras would be on, and I'd be like, yeah, let's do it. So is that part of
that probably means you're a really bad actor.
That's... I was going to get to that later, but no. I was going to get to it. But.
Shots fired. Shots fired.
No, not at all.
That's more like truth told. Truth told.
No, you know what though? But in truth, I mean, I'm just joking around. But that, in fact, you know, a lot of bad acting training puts young people in that position where it's about themselves. So when you get on stage, because it's about you get nervous because you think, you know, I have to, it's about me.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we have to do as acting teachers in in the more advanced levels is uneducate young actors from that feeling of like, now it's about me. I gotta put myself on display. So you know what you're actually talking about is what we say in acting, which is having no bad habits. You don't have any of the crust that comes along with having been through theater school, where you know you learn like this is about me. So and then you get nervous because you know like I've got to lie well.
It's like you constantly have to serve the story or serve the material.
Well, that's the job. Yeah. That's the job part of it. It's like you're as an actor, you're going into this particular role. You're planning on encompassing everything that you need to have to make sure that you do justice to this role for this story. Yeah. And that's, to me, that's the foundation that you don't need to spend $1,000 a semester or whatever it is to take a class with someone to tell you that your job as an actor in someone else's piece especially is to tell that story. It ain't about you. It is just not about you.
It's not, but you know that, like I said, layers, man. Life gets in the way of, that's what, you know, heady. If you're a thinking person, that's not an easy thing to do.
No,
you know,
no. That's what
like you teach. That's what I was going to get to, is that he's from a lineage, I believe, right, of the Meisner lineage.
I mean, yeah. We in order to help students take the work seriously, one of the things that master teachers talk about is you're now a part of this lineage, because the great American acting teachers taught me, who then taught, and I'm now teaching you.
Right.
So you learn that you inherit this tradition of,
inherit it, right,
of being serious about the work, which has, which can be, it's a huge advantage, but it can also have its downsides, because we get really serious.
Yeah, you do, but there's a place for that. There's a place for that.
No, yeah, because hopefully it comes along with being good.
And
right?
I just want to also just point out something. This is a little bit of a callback, but the fact that he brought up Othello made me very happy in his earlier part of the conversation. Because that's like,
and
one
the
of
two
the
black chicks in the back he was talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There we were.
Yeah.
Well, actually, Desdemona's white.
Desdemona's white.
She's white.
Oh, they're black names. That's appropriation.
Oh, snap.
Fucked up.
Well, you'd be even more pissed that the actor was probably in blackface doing that role, by the way.
Oh, really?
The first time.
Yeah, when he was doing that pose.
Yeah. Pretty much until the 1950s, I think,
well,
right?
Ira Aldrich tried. He had a moment.
I'm what they call an idiot. Savant. Notice the
Idiot,
pause.
long pause.
Yeah. It's good you got the second half in there. That was good.
But I mean, it's like I love the whole idea that you can just become somebody else if you can. Like you do it, but you don't hold on to it. Like
Yeah, you gotta let it go.
If you did like, let's say you're Bethany. If you put Bethany, and I would hate to put you in blackface, but it would be the only way that would totally work, and we'd have to deal with that whole thing after.
Right. But she's Dominican.
Oh, even better. We can just put some braids on you.
See?
Braids and claws. You
No
need to have
problem.
claws
No problem.
and some jewelries.
Oh my God.
He
Oh my
likes the Yo
God.
Bethany.
Yeah, I love her, but like that's something that you'd have to take and practice and see, like what someone like Charles would say to you.
Get the fuck out of my class.
Well, depending on the class.
He doesn't know Yo Bethany.
Thank you very much.
don't know
Should I give you 2 minutes?
Leave
Should I
your
give him a minute?
headshot at the door.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be in touch.
Yo,
Thanks.
this is Charles Goforth. That shit is good. I like Charles Goforth. He could go forth into my ass too. I let him fuck it in my ass like all day and shit. Cause that's how you get ahead of acting and shit. Y'all be talking about like layers and shit. I put layers of his cock in my ass and shit too. And then he could fuck it in. Then I get the role and shit. Then all of a sudden you be like, oh my God, who's that person in the new Star Wars? That's your Bethany. Cause I let Charles Goforth fucked it in my ass. Go forth on that shit, baby. He cute too.
Right?
He got that tight t-shirt shit too, like Simon's Garfunkel's. Who's that judge from American Idols?
I believe it's him.
Oh, I like you too, Keith. I wish you wasn't gay. I let you fucked it in my ass and shit. So
all
that's
right.
your Bethany.
That's
Yeah.
Bethany.
And there's
Yeah,
look at Afrim. He's like, I took my acting teacher to Brooklyn. The fucking descendant of Sanford Meisner.
You know the flop sweats?
Yep.
Where you just, it's like
Yeah,
starting to
I don't
like,
have those.
I know.
I don't have
I
those.
doesn't
Just
have
a
them.
little bit. You have the descendant of Sanford Meisner sitting
Yeah,
next to
yeah,
you, and
yeah.
I'm doing your Bethany to it.
Hey.
You know, I want to say one thing. You know, I have to say that I got to say that really, really fine actors get nervous.
Yeah.
Really?
The very best of the best. I've seen it.
I'm not saying I don't get nervous. I get nervous
No,
too,
no.
just like them.
Yeah, just like that.
I'm also the best.
You're also the best.
I'm good too.
Yeah.
I won the Olympics of acting too.
Yeah. Did you? Like on the balance beam?
The Olympics of acting class of the championship of it in 1990.
Yeah. I appreciate your trying
Thanks, bro.
to ask me these questions
Yeah.
because I know it's a little bit of it's alien territory.
No,
for you.
actually, it is, but it isn't. You know, I'm full of shit.
Yeah,
I'm trying
yeah,
to
I know.
be funny too at the same
No,
time.
I know.
The truth is, it's part of my soul.
Yeah.
You know, it really is. All that shit that I do. I mean, I hesitate to say that I'm a kindred soul with you guys, but I am.
No,
or
I
else we
think
all
so.
wouldn't be sitting here together.
No, I think so.
You know?
Absolutely.
And I do find it interesting, and it is amazing to me that there, you know, when, like, for instance, when you're watching I watch a movie and I'm watching someone just you know, it could be a comedy, it could be anything, and I'm watching it with my family, and they're just like, you know, they're thinking about the next plot point, what happens next, and is that the guy's sister? And I'm thinking, look at this fucking guy. He's the guy.
Yeah.
He's the guy, you know?
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
I'm like, wow, he's amazing, right? And she's like, no, because he hit his wife. I'm like, no, not the character, the actor. The fuck is wrong with, you know? So, you know.
They're making it all up. It never really even happened.
Right.
So you need this crowd too. You need us too.
Yeah.
Believe me, without you,
See?
there'd be so many dead people in the world. Mass homicides would happen.
I'm gonna jump in real quick.
Thank you, God, for being in my life.
and take it back for a second. when you were asking Charles, because he'll be pretty humble about it, but yes, he is part of that lineage. Studied with William Esper, Maggie Flanigan, and in my opinion, obviously he's my teacher, but I would say like expression of those people who are expression of Sanford Meisner, and
That's
also
incredible.
His Sanford Meisner's definition, to my understanding, is to live truthfully under imaginary circumstances.
You got it.
And then the amended version, which essentially everything evolves.
I'm having a proud teacher moment right now.
Every-
I saw you clutch. I
so
saw you clutch over there.
everything evolves, and his protégés, William Esper, Maggie Flanigan, then amended the definition to do truthfully under imaginary circumstances. So it actually gives you something active to do versus me telling you, hey, TJ, just let me watch you live for a little bit. Which would be awesome for me because I know some crazy shit's going to happen, but that's not really an actionable thing that you can do. So
Right.
now what they did in amending the definition is say, do truthfully under imaginary circumstances. So you're not lying because everyone's in on the fact that, hey, we're doing a show, we're doing a play, we're doing a movie. So now tell the truth by doing something active, and essentially that's humbly, I would look to Charles for that, but I think that would then be in a very tight nutshell what the Sanford Meisner.
First of all, ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah, that was well
Charles
done,
Goforth.
man. Yeah, that was good.
That was
See?
a really cool moment.
He's always been a shining student.
It's like how a lot of people like talk about me and stuff too. So.
Hi.
No, but that's really, really cool because you're being humble about it, but it's true, you know. Billy Esper and Maggie Goforth and Spence.
Maggie Flanigan.
Yeah,
It's just a stew of all the teachers in one
Yeah.
place.
No, but those.
Well, it's a good story actually because he nailed it. Afrim nailed it, and William Esper would tell in an early class he would say, "What's the definition of?" And he would give Meisner's definition to live truthfully, and then he would say, "Do me a favor, Jake, could you get on stage and just do a little living for us?"
I mean, you know what it reminds me of? When science. You ever heard when scientists say you can change the state of something just by looking at it? I'm very
I've heard- yeah, I've heard- I know what you're
intellectual
talking
in
about, yeah.
scientific stuff too.
Sure.
But there's a theory out
Idiot
there
savant.
that
That's the savant
That's the
part.
savant.
You forgot the
Coming
pause,
out.
actually.
Yes,
You
yeah.
forgot the long pause.
Idiot. Savant.
Yes, there you go. That's it.
For some reason, it reminded me of it. There's this, the theory is that you can change the state of something, like an atom or anything, that just by looking at it changes the state. So, if you that's what it reminds me. Go on stage and live. Now, what does that mean? So, anything he does is living. Even if he's nervous about you watching him, that's living. So you can live in that moment. Is that part of the training where you go, if you're nervous about us watching you, then maybe who you're portraying is nervous too. Take that nervous energy and turn it inside out.
Sure.
Is it part of that? Is there part of that in that?
Well, it's because I'm now honoring the savant part, man.
Thank you.
Because
Thank you.
I am, because you're getting to some really deep stuff about like reality, storytelling, what's real, what's not.
Yeah.
Who's
Look at you.
right. I mean, I think
Not me.
that's. I mean, you're trying to have the conversation
Right.
about like what the hell are we all doing up here?
Yeah.
Yes. That's what goes through my mind. That's what I'm thinking about.
That's the fundamental stuff. That's the baseline of like, what now? What?
Now what?
Yeah.
Right. And because
And luckily, when you're figuring that piece out, luckily, if you are lucky, there's a script that takes you the rest of the way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like once you figure out what that person is,
Oh, yeah,
and
once
those
you get
scenarios,
that-
then the script is there, and you're good to go. You know what I mean?
how
No.
How old were you? Was it in high school? When
I was 11.
You were 11.
I got a part in. I was a boy in Akron, Ohio, and I got hired to play Tom Sawyer in a professional children's production of Tom Sawyer.
But you had to know that you wanted. You went on the audition. Were you?
All I knew was that I wanted attention. I didn't really.
Yeah. yeah. He wanted attention. Right.
I knew that part.
Luckily, he's found a constructive way to get it.
And then I knew my lines. Because I knew my lines because they would help. I mean, I needed
Help the attention
They would
part.
help the attention part.
Exactly.
That's such a raw,
that's the
truthful
motivator.
answer.
Well, it's the motivator.
But I tell you, man, I got that paycheck. I was like 11 years old, and I was holding this paycheck in my hand for acting.
Right.
And I was like,
No
this is
training, no
fucking-
no
I
classes?
had no clue. I had no idea what.
So did your parents just take you to an audition? How did it work?
I had a teacher. You know what? This is always the case, right? I had one teacher in middle school who was like, you know what? You are bringing something. You should honor that a little bit and see what you can do with
Just
that.
a typical
Yeah, I mean,
public school teacher.
Yeah,
like,
it could.
just
Well,
said-
it was. Yeah, it was like. I mean, it could have been algebra. It could have been. I could
Right.
have been musicianship. It could have been dancing. It could have been anything. But she recognized a little bit of skill. And when you're that age, you're so hungry for to be told that you're good at something. And that part was honored in me. And I think that's partly
That is
why
a great word, honored.
the arts for me
I'm
will
going to
never
tell my
be-
wife that word. Sorry, go ahead. No, but it's true.
I guess that wasn't in the vows when we got married.
Honey, you're honored to have me.
Listen to me. You know Charles Goforth? He's a direct descendant of some Jew guy who teaches acting. He told me you should honor me. Fuck out of here. You like watching fucking Johnny Wallbanger on New York Blues or whatever the fuck TV show that is.
Honor me.
Honor me. Sorry, Charles.
Yeah.
It's got all too personal right there.
It's usually honor. The word honor is usually better without the word me after it.
Yeah, but it works.
But it works.
But that teacher honored. But you see that because I'm thinking of my son Tommy, and he's been talking about acting for 2, maybe 3 years now. And every time it comes up, I think we spoke about this, but every time it comes up, and I tell him, "You're surrounded by normal people. Forgive them." They don't understand.
You know what?
They try to shoot him down. Acting is nowhere, Tommy.
Genius.
Yeah.
That is a beautiful thing to say.
Yeah. Ignore them.
Ignore the
They're normal
people.
They're normal.
And
it's
you're
okay.
not normal, and it's okay.
Normal sucks.
It's just God, man. It
Muggles.
just gives me chills if I think about how wonderful to have had someone say that to me at 9 or 10.
Yeah.
That
That's amazing. Because
1970s.
Could you imagine?
Could you imagine? But
No.
we're talking 1970s Texas. Ain't
My
nobody gonna say
father
shit
didn't
like
even
that
know
to
what my
me.
name was till I was about 11.
Who's this kid? Keeps
Hey,
coming
it was-
around.
It was, hey you.
He's
hey
eating
you.
everything.
Shut up. Change the TV and go ask your mother. That's the fucking conversation with me and my father.
So that's a good thing that you're at least able to
because
recognize that now.
I'm looking at myself. I'm like, uh-oh.
Yeah. So how
and
did
the
you get?
things.
How did you get to be like philosophically like inclined?
How
did that happen?
I've always kept a lid on it because I've been surrounded by normals.
Yeah.
Were you like a
And I
comic book villain?
also-
You accidentally fell into a vat of psilocybin
Yeah, I
mushrooms,
was
and
gonna
you were
say-
like, "Oh my god, everything's crazy right now."
I recently drank 16 gallons of LSD, unbeknownst to me, and now I came out talking about layers and acting. And,
Interesting.
yeah. But to have that person in your life, you could see Keith and I's reaction. We just
Yeah,
looked at
yeah.
each other like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
There's nobody. That's very fortunate, right?
A shout out to Joanne Bokus.
Oh, man. She
Middle
sounds-
school music teacher
sounds
at
hot, too.
Old Trail School in Akron.
She's sexy?
And- yeah, oh,
Just
yeah.
say yeah,
Oh
just
yeah,
whatever.
yeah. No, totally.
That's why Charles is like, she's like, you should honor that. Yeah, whatever. What do you want me to do?
That's
Charles
why-
can do a little bit of
Well, see,
improv, too. He's
sad
like,
to
oh,
say-
totally, yeah.
Sad to say though, that's the reason that I played the tuba at 11, because I had a teacher, my band director. I love calling his name Carlos Peña.
Oh, he was in love with Carlos.
Yeah.
Honey, yes,
Him.
yes.
He wasn't even nearly as good looking as me, probably.
Well, at the
Keith.
I was 11 though.
Keith, please.
What?
Just play the tuba.
Oh, no.
It's
Yeah.
perfect for you.
Yes. That's exactly what it. Yes.
Oh, look at you two.
Because I went in
Oh,
wanting
you
to
just
play
got swept
trumpet.
off your feet.
No, I walked in wanting to play trumpet like Dizzy Gillespie, and he said to me, he goes, "No, Keith, you should play the tuba." And that's it. And then
Where are they? Where can I go?
And the la-
Keith, can
and
I
I
just say that your experience with your homosexual crush on your music teacher is slightly different than Charles being prodded into acting and being honored? I honored
the musicianship upon which I spent 4 years on the
clearly a
tuba
fucking
on the
actor.
bass line. Hello.
And that was more acting than he ever did because you never liked that fucking tuba.
I did
You just
love it.
liked Carlos Mencia, whatever the fuck his name is.
Peña, DJ, Peña.
Oh, Peña. So,
Peña.
11 Peter Pan. Do you go on auditions?
Tom Sawyer, Peter Pan.
Yeah,
you know,
whatever.
whatever. Yeah. So no.
By the way, that's comedy, ladies and gentlemen. Comedy. I got it written down. We go the opposite way just to make it funny. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I have no idea where we are right
Yeah,
now.
well,
but
we're doing it.
Good.
We're doing
it's
it.
Good.
Believe me, you're gonna look back and go, worst thing I ever did in my life.
Career is over.
Please don't publish that. I will kill you. So, did you go on auditions?
Well, you know what? I didn't go on auditions until I moved to New York when I was 14 years old. And so I didn't go on auditions in Ohio. I went to the Performing Arts High School in New York. So I moved to New York. I got in the Fame School, and so I was in training, serious training, and we were discouraged from auditioning, which it comes along with sometimes in training, especially back then. Now it's a little more
Really?
Yeah. Because now you can't tell a kid now, like, while you're at NYU, do not be auditioning. They won't buy into it.
What was the theory? Why do you agree with that? Not to audition?
Well, the theory is that, if you understand acting as an art form and not as something that you do, so that you can be rich and famous, but you understand it along the lines of playing the violin or making a great work of art or, being an architect. If you understand it that way, then you have no business getting on the uneven bars until you've done the bit in the harness with the trampoline and the coach and the safety mats, right? Until you've done that shit, you have no business being on the balance beam. But actors think, American actor, young.
I was going to say, you must love Vin Diesel.
Well, yeah. He's great.
Oh my God.
The pacifier.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Actually, you know what? The truth is, I love shit like that because it gives me permission not to have to watch critically.
Right.
Like Fast and Furious, I love those movies because I don't have to watch it like an acting teacher. I can just go away.
Yeah.
Nice.
Is it hard to do that though?
Yeah, I don't. There's only like 6 movies that.
But then it stands to reason. Then Meryl Streep wouldn't exist without that mindset, right? Does that make sense?
No, of course.
She became a master doctorate.
Have you ever seen
Yeah.
the documentary Jiro Dreams of Sushi?
Yes.
So you know how they constantly are working, like he acknowledged some guy after I think it was 15, 20 years of doing this one preparatory dish.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
finally he gave him the acknowledgement this is awesome. The guy basically started crying because he realized, okay, now I'm ready to take the next step.
Or he wasted 15 years
Or
making
that guy was an egotistical bastard. Yeah, he's just like,
because the American in me is like, that's cheap labor, you fucking idiot.
yeah.
Soon it will be time for you to make another soup.
Make more.
Okay there, Winley.
I mean, there's probably
Fuck out of here. Can I get a fucking raise, bro?
there's probably also
Fucking
a
soup.
romanticism to that idea, but
No, but it is true. That's
kind of combining the two
yeah.
together, it's like, you got to earn that a little bit too.
And one's not truer than the other, depending on the actor and depending on what's real for you. Acting training, like any other kind of training, can get really precious. Like, you are now an acolyte. Put on this brown robe and we'll give you a rope belt.
Right.
And we'll restore your real clothing in 4 years when you are no longer an initiate, but you have now become an adept.
It's so funny though. I was just trying to think when you were just saying that.
I love you. That's amazing.
When you said though that how
fucking
you
great.
discourage someone from NYU to go on auditions that they could get their first big Broadway break. It's isn't that the same thing when a kid from high school gets recruited to go right into the pros? Is your fear as an educator in that is you don't have enough training to understand what you really are getting into? And in the business world for theater people, I'm one of those folks. I'm still figuring out the business aspect of it because I'm so into the creative thing. And it's is that something that you also put into your program as well?
Well, I would just back up.
No, please.
I would back up a little bit, and I would say that unlike the violin or the uneven bars at the gymnastics, right, or the pommel horse, or downhill skiing, though acting doesn't have a visible technique. When you see it being done very well, the technique is invisible.
Yes. Right.
And when you go to Carnegie Hall and you watch, you watch Hilary Hahn play the violin, you don't think to yourself, "Oh, I could do that."
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But when you watch a movie that's really well done, right, and Robert Duvall is kicking it, and you're watching this naturalistic, every moment seems organic and real, and it's just like he's kind of just up there.
Yeah.
And you think to yourself, "I could do that."
Yeah.
Because the technique is invisible. So with young actors, what you have to sometimes do is you have to remind them that although it's invisible, if you really want to know what the hell you're doing, you had better learn one.
Right. That's like comedy.
Right.
Exactly like comedy.
And so the idea then is to sort of say, listen, right now it might be a good idea for you not to be getting on stage, because if you were a violinist, right, you wouldn't be going to a recital because you don't know how to fucking play the thing.
Right.
So,
you need to start, obviously, with a natural, innate ability to do it.
Absolutely.
You have to be a liar. You have to be a good liar.
Yeah.
Right? Isn't acting kind of like a little bit of a liar? Because
sure, of course.
if you want somebody to believe something, you have to
But
take
everyone-
on the
but also
persona of the thing that they want you to be.
I just lied to you about my whole background.
I know. Having your DNA run right now, that cup of coffee we gave you is actually a sample of your DNA, so we can find out what the fuck you are and where you came from.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I know you're joking sometimes, but when people say like, "Oh yeah, so it means you're a good liar," then right? I'm like, no, because everyone knows, everyone's in on that lie.
Right.
It's a world that everyone's in on. You
Right.
suspend your disbelief. Hey,
Right.
I'm in the movie theater. Hey,
I got you.
I'm in the theater. Everyone's in on it, and you hope that the story is important enough that it's like worth the time.
Yes. So I think what I mean by lying is that you have to suppress whoever is the real you with, and simultaneously take a piece of you and inject it into what you're doing. In other words, you have to find that connection to whoever you're playing or whatever you're doing, and suppress the real you at the same time. The guy who's, I don't know if that makes sense.
You're
or-
bringing, you know what you're absolutely, man. Again, your instincts are amazing, because what you're really doing is you're reordering parts of yourself. You're bringing parts of yourself to the fore.
Well said, Charles. You're getting it.
That's what.
I love that he's not next to me, so he can't punch me right now. But you son of a bitch! He crack your fucking teeth out. He's looking at. No, he's. I'm glad you're laughing. I'm glad you're laughing.
Great, man. I'm learning a lot.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Later, I'll show you how to order a calzone from a pizzeria in Brooklyn, and you will learn so many things from the fat Italian retard that you showed up on a Sunday afternoon to talk with.
TJ Stone's acting masterclass and calzone ordering series. Go to tjstone.com.
I just love that I'm talking to Charles Goforth right now, man.
Me too.
No, but there is some truth to what I said. I guess it's
No,
reordering is what you call it.
Listen, one of the greatest actors I've ever had the
that down.
privilege of being in the presence of said to me, it's not about suppressing parts of yourself or choosing parts of yourself to bring. If you think you're pretending, it's weird, because you're not pretending. You're in an imaginary circumstance, but you're doing real shit. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to encourage you to date my sister. Now, I don't know why I would do that.
you would be so better suited to point that at Keith. As unlikely as it is, he'd be the better one. Trust me.
So I don't have to
Such a better
pretend.
person than you.
Right. But when I do that, I don't have to pretend I'm somebody else.
Because you're that person.
Because so good acting is not about pretending you're somebody else. It's about having done your homework and absorbing their point of view on the world, understanding why they would do certain things, marrying that with what you know about yourself, and then getting the fuck up there and doing it.
Yep.
And if by virtue of the homework that I've done and by virtue of me sincerely being invested in trying to get you to date my sister, right, I am not worried about trying to become someone else. I'm just up there authentically doing something with an understanding from my homework of what it is that is different about the person that I'm up there doing.
It's like it's tapping into the emotion that drives the desire.
Yeah.
And it's all characteristics of people.
Of course, and the finest. They're bringing themselves onto the stage. I think, and different actors will tell you different things about whether or not they're pretending. That word is really tricky in acting because people,
it sounds like it doesn't fit. It doesn't feel right.
People have different ideas. Like you said, when you're seeing your kids, so they'll say, sit down on the sofa, everybody. I'm now a prince and she's the princess, right?
Yeah.
That's pretending.
Yeah.
And that's an essential part of anything that will eventually become what we think of as good acting. It's called imagination.
Right. In the moment, it's really not pretending. It's sharing an emotion of a thought or an idea that the kid has about the world. And in that moment, that girl is that thing that she's informing you she is.
Yeah, I think also society, sorry to cut you off, Charles, but you mentioned something that's important to me. It's like we have this dramatization of like, okay, yeah, show me what you got.
Yeah.
Versus like sometimes I'll hang out with older family members and they're just happy to have company over. Oh my God, tell me about this story. And they're enthralled from the jump.
They're
like
enjoying the moment.
Whatever the story is, you could have told the story 20 times. They're in it like it's the first time.
Yeah.
And it's also, I think, could be a societal thing. It could be just the way people are, but you want to be in that place where that imagination can absorb you.
It's not really, really cool way to put it.
Yeah,
because
we might be missing that.
Because the older you get, like I'm whenever when I'm with my sons or I'm coaching a kid's baseball game and you see a kid do something good and he's smiling and I live that moment through that kid, and it means more to me to see his happiness because I'm in that moment with him. I'm sharing that joy with him. And you talk about people that are older than you. That's living in the moment. They've lived long enough to know that this moment right here, right now, that I'm sharing with you guys is kind of special. Like this connection we have is special, and that you can draw on that.
Yeah,
and that can inform the stuff that you do going forward. I think you're right when you said about societal, like. All this stuff, this is all instantaneous gratification, the cell phones and fucking games that we're playing. So we're getting away from that a little bit. So what you guys do is a challenge because all that has to go away, right? And you have to find a way to be that human, that fucking connection and relay it to what you do.
Well, when you in today's culture, you go into a room where there are 79 other people or maybe 1,300 other people all there watching other real people in real time do something on a stage. There's always been this communal quality to real theater. And in our day and age, I used to think theater was like, I remember being as a young guy, I'd be like, theater's, man, it's on its way out. It's like there's no need for it because you got big screens, you got high def, you got it's
getting replaced.
It's being replaced, being usurped by all the other cooler stuff. And I've completely gone 180 on that now because I believe getting real human beings in a room to sit next to each other that's not the subway train or a bus.
Right.
And having them.
You guys might be you guys might be convincing me to go see a play now. Is this some kind of unknown intervention that I'm not aware of?
This is exactly what it was.
It sounds so inviting.
And you know what?
Theater intervention.
And David Mamet said this great thing about the good plays, which is that when you've gone to a good play, it's in one of his great essay books about the theater, but he's talking about dinner theater and all these weird these forms where theater is basically a distraction, right. But if you go to a good play, it's like having a full meal. Right, you have spent your evening. You don't need
fulfilled.
A snack afterwards.
Content.
You're content.
Right.
Yeah, because you have been in a room where people are trying to say something truthful about the human condition. Like, what the fuck are we doing here?
Yeah. What is it?
What is this thing called my 72 years or whatever the hell it's going to be? Right. Knock on wood. But what is it? Why? What's going on here?
What do you think it is, Charles?
Tell us, please.
Can somebody fucking help me?
I'm on the edge.
Where in Ohio? Where in Ohio are you from?
Akron.
Oh. Cleveland Browns fan?
No, I never was a Browns fan, and I'm not going to tell you who I actually...
Steelers.
No,
you're a Steelers fan.
No, I'm not a Steelers fan.
Then you have to leave.
I have to go. Well, if you knew who I really liked, you would really kick me out of
this. Oh, really? Was he a Cowboys fan?
No,
Ravens? I don't care. You think I care?
In the last couple of years, for some weird reason, a combination of being from Ohio, having friends from the town, and I don't know, some other factors, I have sort of become, this is hard for me to say. It's like
really?
I feel like I'm coming out.
Really?
We're here for you,
on
Charles.
our show.
Charles, it's okay.
I'm a Bengals fan.
I love that you started laughing. There's no other reaction to that.
I know.
It's like,
you should have kept that to yourself.
All the talk about honesty and be like, nah, man, just
I know.
buried
So-
that deep. That
sometimes
shit.
you
There's
just
no
have to
shame
hold
in
on.
rooting
But I'm
for
not.
a team
But I'm a
that
casual
doesn't have
fan.
any Super Bowls.
No, I understand. No Super Bowls whatsoever.
I understand.
No.
Really?
And
So
I'm
you
not-
root against the Steelers when they play the Bengals then?
I do.
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge to keep this conversation going. But we'll do the best we can.
But
Keith trying to act like he knows what we're talking about. Look at him.
Hey,
yeah.
just for the record, motherfucker. Let me just break some shit down to you,
How
bitch.
gay did he put me in check on sports? Let me just tell you something, motherfucker.
When I was 16 years old,
All right, come here.
I hung out with. Fix my thing here.
All right, sweetheart.
I hung out with some of the more notable players of the day,
Really?
mind you, of the Dallas
Did you
Cowboys.
charge them by the hour? Or was it a weekly arrangement?
Ooh, boy, I'm a.
Oh boy.
No, really, you did?
gonna
Did
make me
you
take my
hang
shoe
out
off.
with them?
Yes.
Take your shoe off.
Oh,
Too
dude.
Tall Jones,
Really? How'd you hang? Well, the
Raphael
Santana?
Septien. Do you remember him?
Of course I do, yeah.
Thank you. The kicker. Did you hear me say the fucking kicker?
Yes, I did.
Bitch.
Gayest position in sports, but go ahead.
Hey, it's still a good spot. You don't get hit as much.
And who else?
It was Too Tall Jones, Raphael Septien. God, it was all on my birthday.
What do you
too.
mean? Where?
In Galveston, Texas, because I had a friend, my friend Liza, who was very connected to the Dallas Cowboys at the time, and she managed to bring them all down to come and play basketball. Tony Dorsett, that's the other one. How did I
Wow.
forget
Tony
number
Dorsett
15?
from
Even I
Pittsburgh.
know that name.
Thank you.
He's from Pittsburgh.
Shit.
See?
Did you know that?
No, I did not know
He's
that.
a Steeler.
No, do I
Steeler.
care?
He's not a Steeler guy, but he's
But
a
you know,
Pittsburgh guy.
so I was down and fucking on another thing. I was in the marching band. Don't forget the tuba shit here.
All right,
man.
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's
So
right.
I fucking know
All
about
right,
some
take it easy,
football.
man.
All
Take
right,
it easy.
Don't be just discounting me because I'm not all about the Steelers and
All right,
shit.
you know about football. 3rd and 15, you're down by 7. 2 minutes left in the game. You got one timeout.
Mm-hmm.
You go for it. You fall 6 yards short. What do you do? 4th and 6th. What do you do?
Well, you can't be 4th and 6. Are you 4th and 6 trying to get the first down?
All right. So the Meisner technique, Charles.
Yeah, well, let's get back to the acting. Can we?
Are you trying to get a first down, or are you going for completion? I don't understand. Sounds like a lot of
Came
stuff.
from how did you? What were you? Who were you? What kind of fan were you before the Bengals?
I was not.
You were not anything.
As a boy, I was a huge fan of the 1973 Miami Dolphins.
Oh, undefeated.
And I had all the cards. Gayo Premian, even the gay
Was it the
kicker. The
72?
gay kicker. I even had the gay kicker.
Was he gay? Well, most of them.
I
are
have
gays,
no
what
idea,
you're
but I
saying.
assume.
Based on TJ's, yeah.
Based on, I've got sports experts around me right now, and so I'm learning.
Oh, I'll never. Even if I thought about getting into the theater world, no one's ever going to accept me. There's going to be a fucking poster of me at the doors going in. Do not let him in.
Of your tooth whitened headshot.
Yeah, my tooth whitened
totally
that iTunes photo of me. Fuck.
You will be vetted. You will be vetted.
I love the idea
Thoroughly.
of Charles Goforth as a teenager in New York coming here and then going to the Fame School.
Yeah. It
How
was,
does that happen?
Well, I went. I found out about the auditions, and I went. I mean, I just went, and you know what? One of the things I love about New York City is that they have these public schools that if you can get in, you can go for free. Mm-hmm. And in terms of the quality of the experience, like Bronx Science, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not Bed-Stuyvesant, but Stuyvesant High School.
Yep.
And like, there's a couple of others.
There's like a business.
It's funny
school
you're talking
somewhere.
about my son is studying for the specialized high schools exam right now to
There
get
you
into
go.
those.
There you go.
There's a special test you have to take.
There you go, man. And like,
yeah, you have to take a test and do well on it.
One of the things I'm most grateful about in my whole life is the incredible privilege to be at a New York City public school, diverse, up the wazoo, right? Like kids from all over the tri-state area, because once you get in, it's your talent that gets you in, not your wallet. So the demographic of the kids that's in there is like New York itself.
A little different than Akron?
A little different
Yeah,
than
it was,
Akron.
right? Yeah. A little bit of an adjustment.
I bet it was.
Yeah, man. No, I got a real education.
Did you remember being a kid? Was it cool or was it intimidating? To be around all these different type of people and backgrounds?
Well, it was a little bit of both.
Yeah.
You know, I remember. I was a late bloomer. I was an innocent kid from Akron. I was an innocent, skinny white kid from Akron. I didn't know anything, and like, I stayed innocent through high school mostly. But I I watched behavior that I didn't know kids my age were capable of. Like, like there was a lot going on. These kids were from the city, a lot of them, and like, and they were openly
busy.
They were openly expressing their sexuality and like, trying out different drugs and like, and it was exciting though. I was 14 years old. I mean, I wasn't judging anybody at that point. I was like, whoa, fuck.
Yeah, you got powdered donut stuff all over your nose, man. What are you guys doing?
You're just shoving it in. Chew, bitches, chew.
Yeah.
But you were an artist.
Well, I don't know. I was a kid, and I was.
But
Yeah, and I was.
It was in the DNA.
I was so fucking sensitive. It was ridiculous.
Really?
Oh my God.
Really? Were you?
Oh my God! It was embarrassing. TJ.
Why? Why? Give me an example.
Senior year, there was this woman named Kati that I had an incredible infatuation with, and so I was a senior.
Kati, where is she from?
She's a New Yorker. And I had this enormous infatuation. So I was a senior, she was a junior, and this was my chance to actually go on a date with her, which she never would have done otherwise. But because I was a senior, it was time for my prom, and she wanted to go to the prom. So I knew I had leverage, right? So
you call it being used, he calls it leverage. It's all about perspective, ladies.
I was providing value.
But this is, and that's what I mean by innocent. You see what I'm saying?
Of course, but it worked,
Yeah. So, but anyway, she got to the prom, and once she got to the prom, I was like, that when the Apollo rockets take off and they finally get outside the atmosphere, and that whole section of the rocket that was meant to simply get them into orbit falls away.
Yeah.
That was her at my prom.
That is the greatest description.
See you, Charles!
That is the greatest description, and every man who's ever lived has felt that.
I was the booster rocket.
Fucking cunt. Holla. Of a human being. You were the booster rocket.
I was the booster rocket to the prom.
Oh, that son of a bitch, Kati. What's her name?
I'm not.
he messed up already.
What's her last name? I'm Facebooking that bitch right now.
No way.
Don't be booster rocking in my boy Charles, bitch.
No way.
It's like I have 4 kids and I lost my left leg from diabetes. Who is this? Shut up.
Everybody out
You
there,
were mean to Charles Goforth.
PLT listeners, you can do a picture of the rocket and then put a picture of the girl that was your rocket booster that is scared and post it. Tag them. Say 3PLT sent you.
That's the problem with knowing Italian guys from Brooklyn. Once we're your friends, it's bad.
Yeah, no,
We're your friends. We're very, very
That's okay.
loyal.
That's okay. It's good. I need friends like that.
I got his music teacher in a basement somewhere. Don't worry about it. Fucking scumbag. Why'd you make my friend play the fucking tuba? The guy don't like tubas, you son of a bitch. He was impressionable. I'm going to bring him down here every week. You're going to give him a hand job for 3 months and I'm going to call it even. Fuck up. I don't care if your kid has fucking leukemia. You jerk him off.
That's great.
It's really dark what I said, guys. It's just pretend, making believe.
Thank you, though, man. You got my 6.
See,
that's what. That right?
Exactly. Yes,
and I appreciate that.
Of course.
I like that.
And
sorry, Mr. Pena.
Sorry, Kati.
He can't hear you.
He can't hear you.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Actually, we stream the podcast. That's the one thing we do.
That's really nice of you,
Very
man.
nice.
In the box and everything.
The whole thing.
That's so nice, dude. Wi-Fi? That's crazy.
Yeah, we got him hooked
Gets
all
all
the
the
way
way down there.
Yeah.
He's got access to every episode, right?
He's going, it's on a loop.
It's on a loop. I'm tough, but I'm not mean.
Yeah, I'm not an animal.
Exactly.
We're not animals.
Is an iPhone in a chamber pot.
So watch this. Watch this professionalism.
Love that.
You leave high school, Charles.
Yeah, I
and what
did.
happens?
King of the
Guys, you
segways.
see that? See that?
See what happens?
Thank you so much for the pound.
Yeah.
That-
I leave
you
high school, and
Yeah.
what happens?
You tell me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You tell me, bro. I mean, I already know,
He's
but you
like-
tell me.
Those were really the good days. No.
High school graduate in New York City, just left the Fame School.
Yeah.
You didn't do any auditions when you were in high school? Did you do any acting?
No, we didn't know because
That's the whole
we
idea.
were forbidden.
They were
Wow.
We were not allowed.
How sad that you didn't end up like Coco at the end of Fame.
I
sitting
know.
in front of a thing going,
Yeah.
Très jolie, Coco, très jolie.
Right. Put your thumb in your mouth, Coco.
I don't know what he's talking about.
Face on TJ.
I don't know what he's talking about, but I did see Smokey and the Bandit. Okay. Does that relate
It
in
does.
any way
It
to
does.
this?
No,
Same
that's,
era,
that's a fine film.
Thank you. Yeah, Jackie Gleason was in that too. So
It's a mad world was also.
it's like you guys are like, how can we relate to this retarded 5-year-old boy? Color is this. This is color. This is a number. See, this is 7. It's like fucking literally talking to a retarded 5-year-old. So then you left high school.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
on time. Voluntarily.
What do you do after, spending your life learning how to act, not being able to apply it?
You get that. Well, if you're like me and you're not entirely, an artistic savant who is a prodigy of some kind, you totally second guess all of your choices and you go to a hardcore liberal arts college.
You second guessed yourself.
Yeah, because I got curious in high school about other shit.
Yeah.
Because I had a couple of teachers that were like, imagine you're the biology teacher at Performing Arts High School, right? You have got to put on a show of some kind because if you're going to be interesting at all, you have to step up.
Right.
So I had these amazing academic teachers who were trying to compete with classes that we actually cared about.
Oh, wow. I never thought about that. That's right. That's true. That's like my math teacher trying to tell me I shouldn't be happy about going to health with the sexy ass 28-year-old blonde teacher talking about sexual intercourse. So what were you interested in? Sorry, bro. Sometimes I do stuff to make myself laugh, and I'm saying it right to Afrim, and he's looking at me like, "The fuck is wrong with you?"
Sorry, I've lost my train of thought.
I absorbed all of that in a long pause.
I'm impressed. I'm impressed.
So you got interested in
everything. I was interested in everything.
Biology,
I wanted to study
science,
because at Performing Arts we had only the minimum that was required in order to pass the New York Regents, right? You kids got to pass these things called Regents in New York. So we had the basics. We had, geometry and chemistry, and we had the stuff you needed to know, but no AP classes, no hey, would you like to explore this or that? We didn't have any of that. Wow. So
I never heard this side of it.
I got really curious, and so I wanted to go to college. I was kind of done actually with the whole theater thing. I wanted to go to college and be I was pre-med for the first 6 months in college.
Oh, really?
I was pre-med.
Were you?
Yeah, bio pre-med.
So me too.
That's interesting. They accused what I did of being premeditated. But it worked out. I had a good lawyer, so
it worked out.
We're all in the same boat in a lot of the things that we do. I don't feel outclassed, and not even a little bit, Afrim. I'm sitting with now. You just let's throw pre-med on top of this and call it a fucking day, fellas. Of 2 pre-med students on top of all the other better shit and smarter things you are than me.
Yeah, but we're sitting in your state-of-the-art studio having a great time talking to you.
Thank you.
So
I appreciate that.
That's real, right?
That part is real.
Yeah.
I hope the real owner doesn't show up soon because this is so fucking great.
What are you guys doing in here?
Hey, what do you do? It's like some Israeli fucking radio station. What the fuck is going on?
Hey, buddy, whose computer is this?
What the fuck you do? Get out!
That's my daughter's MacBook. Don't touch. Hey, buddy. Don't touch.
That's a great accent, man.
That is pretty good. That's good.
Pre-med. Charles Goforth was pre-med.
Well,
nobody knew before this interview.
Yeah, that's right. That's true, and as it should be.
As it should be. So you really were pre-med,
edit that part out.
You were full force. You were ready
for the first semester. I lined up I took a brutal lineup of classes because I was taking myself very seriously at that time.
You were going to be a doctor.
I was going to be a doctor, and I was at a very elite little college, and I was proud of myself for having gotten into that place.
What was it? Do you mind?
A Williams College.
College
in northern Massachusetts, and I was because I had to study. I had to study on my own academically to supplement my actual coursework at Performing Arts so that I could pass certain tests to get into that school. So I went to the Rose Reading Room in the main branch of the public library and sat there by myself. And I'm proud of that. And I got in and I wanted to do all the serious shit. So I enrolled for things that I thought I should take. right? As of, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
So
All the stuff that you thought.
Right. So anyway, I got over that part and then started taking classes that I actually was really curious about, and I just took this broad range of everything. Williams College. Yeah.
So you got over that first semester. You were like, listen, this is out of my fucking system.
Yeah. And then I started doing so much extracurricular theater, right, that my coursework started to suffer. So by the time I was like a junior, I was like,
fight it. It's who you are. It's who you are.
I started doing it all extracurricular, and so by the time I got out of college, I went to graduate school. I went to graduate school for directing. With William Esper, who was actually a master acting teacher, but he was head of the program at Rutgers University at that time. So
he was taught under Meisner.
That's right.
Yeah.
With Meisner as an apprentice teacher, even.
Right.
So because he was the head of the whole program, even though I was a directing major, we still had to take the full regimen of Meisner training. So I got this like double degree.
Oh wow!
Which was really great.
Wow, that's incredible.
It was really great.
So he studied with
Sanford Meisner, yeah.
And simultaneously, you both had to take the Meisner, or was that just you took it?
No, we as directing students, right? There's in that graduate program, you got directors, you got actors, right? So we had to take the full acting training,
right?
Because in addition to our directing training, because William Esper, being an acting teacher, believed that that if you're going to be a theater artist, you had better know what acting is about.
Absolutely.
And you should know how to talk to them.
That makes complete sense.
We had to take the full complement of Meisner training. But you know what? For me, I got to say, and I don't know if this is interesting, but for me, it was like coming back around home again, because all my teachers at performing arts were the proteges of the group theater people. So when I got back to graduate school and I was suddenly under the same people, I was like, oh shit, man, all the teachers that I had when I was 14, 15, 16, this is the same stuff, you know? And I was like, it's
like a homecoming of sorts.
Yeah. So when I say the word, I mean, it's a little, I get a little self-conscious when you use the word lineage, you know, but for me,
it is like, what it is.
I came back home after performing arts high school because it was all the same people.
Right.
So I went to, and that was me getting back into the theater in graduate school after all the, making it my curriculum again. So that's what I did.
And then I have the same lineage, but it's city workers. It's a lineage of, and I try to stay humble about that as well.
Yeah.
Keith is like knocked out up against the microphone. What?
I don't know what to do with you.
Yeah, well,
I just don't know what to do with you. I just have to love you. That's all.
And
I
then
can
you
do.
graduate.
Well, when you know what, when you're from a lineage, like the one I'm talking about, you actually, humility comes right along with it, because
everybody keeps you in check.
Yeah, well, at every moment there's people that are doing it much better than you are.
Right.
Everywhere you look.
Yeah.
So
or you perceive it to be better than you, and you're always learning from people, and you try to stay humble about it, right?
Well, you try. You fail sometimes. You can get haughty.
I mean, Charles won't mention it just because he's also a humble dude and awesome, but he's my teacher, so it's my responsibility. I like to shout him out.
Yeah.
But as the Labyrinth Theater Company,
yes,
is like very established, well-known.
Keith knows it very well.
Yes, I do, actually.
With members like John
Seymour
Ortiz, the late Philip Seymour Hoffman, Sam Rockwell.
I knew him very well, Philly boy, we used to call him, but yeah.
All of which, Charles has spent a lot of time with, worked with, studied with. So when you're surrounded by great minds like that, I don't know. I mention it because I think it's awesome.
Did you study with Philip Seymour Hoffman and...
Well, the artistic directors, John Ortiz and Philip Seymour Hoffman, for about 10 years together, those guys were the artistic directors of the theater company. And then, it's gone through several different evolutions, but yeah, you know what? You don't study officially when you're in the company of people like that, but by virtue of being in the company of people like that, you are a student.
Yeah, without question.
You are a student.
Yep, I can imagine.
You can imagine, right? I mean,
definitely.
You're in the company of masters, talent like that. You just you just take it in as best you can.
Without a doubt.
Sometimes you get jealous and resentful, and you get fuck, man, what am I? I mean, I remember I came out of graduate school thinking I'm an actor director. I'm good. I'm a good actor. I'm a good director. And then I directed I directed some of these actors in a play that had been, that had just been written. And Labyrinth actors, I hooked up with Labyrinth Theater Company like right out of graduate school. And I remember directing some of these actors, Richie Petroselli and Sean Randall, who is now associated with Ensemble Studio Theater, and Philip Seymour Hoffman was in that play too. And I remember sitting in the theater and thinking, okay, all right, I'm a director.
Wow. These fucking guys are great.
These guys are actors.
Yeah.
These are actors.
Does that intimidate you sometimes? That first moment when you're like, "Fuck."
No, yeah, man, yeah. I mean, I thought I was all full of like my education. I remember directing Phil, and I remember directing and I was like, okay, so Phil, in that moment, that moment's not working so well right now. So could you just share what's your action? What do you, I'm using like my vocabulary fresh out of training.
Oh shit, you're using textbook stuff.
The stuff I think I'm supposed to be saying.
And
right?
how did that go?
Because I know how to talk to actors. Because I just got because I just got
These are the words that we use.
These are the words that we use, right? And it was like, I'll never forget it. We were on 8th Avenue and 56th or 57th Street at Shetler. At what at the time it's now Shetler. We were rehearsing a play by Stephen Adley Girgis, and Phil said, in response to me asking him that, Phil said, can we just try it again?
Forget all that shit that you're trying to say. Right?
Let's do it again.
You know what? That's actually.
And I was like,
he was pretty cool about it. Actually,
if he had been less than his brilliant self in that production, I would have been able to say, you see, he should have listened to me.
Yeah.
But because he was so good. Always, he was such a fine actor.
Yeah,
I'm grateful to him for that, because it taught me that you don't know. There's no rule for how to talk to an actor.
That's what I was going to ask you.
No,
I guess you have to get a feel for each person you're dealing with, and it's
of course. And I had the great privilege of being corrected in that way by a terrific actor. So I never had to wonder, like, well, if he had listened to me, he would have been better. So it sets the stage.
Wow.
But it sets the stage for you to then be able to go, okay, I'm not going to fill him full of words right now. I'm just going to say, hey, let's try it again.
Absolutely.
And he'll know what that means.
Absolutely.
And there's others that know what that means. And then there's others. I guess there's actors that are needy, and they may need that wordy response from you. They may need that one-on-one time where they're looking for your feedback and feeding off of your words.
No,
right?
Absolutely. In fact, one of the problems with training is that I would say it happens too often, whether it's directing or acting, any kind of training in the arts. If you end up in a situation, and this happens in New York studios, it happens in academia, and it happens in private coaching as well. If you start to take the training more seriously than what you and I are trying to get done right now,
right?
Like the aesthetic, the technique.
Yep.
If that becomes the thing that you're trying to accomplish right now, you're lost.
Yes.
It's all frosting and no cake.
When young artists come out of intensive training situations, they can often fall into that mistake.
Sure.
Because you're just bursting and brimming with all of that stuff.
That's right. You've got your training, and it makes you feel
I do this. This is what I do.
That's
now.
right. And that's right. And so part of the transition between having just come out of training and really morphing into a professional is letting go of what you thought were the answers.
Yeah.
And letting stick what sticks, and then being receptive to what's coming your way now. But for the first while, your training actually gets in the way.
Yeah, because of all of the textbook stuff that's running through your brain.
Yeah, that's right.
But at the end of the day, it's interesting. You came full circle, and it's like you can't help who you are.
Yeah.
I think we talk about acting and directors and writers. It's all like this kind of crazy disease that and I mean it in a like this disease of being creative. And I talk about normal people.
Yeah.
And I see it in my son's eyes, and the kid is not, he's one of us. And my wife and our family, they can't fathom what it is. 96 National Junior Honor Society, 96 average student, going to take these tests, and yet he's just talking about acting. And I'm listening to you guys talk about med school. Mm-hmm. You're brilliant, brilliant men, and yet here you are. You know, you can't.
With the disease.
No,
With
it's a disease. It's almost like a disease. It's not. You say what makes a good actor? I think of somebody almost like a. I call it a disease because it's like you can't. It's not going anywhere, bro. It's like chlamydia. If that's or herpes, is that the one that doesn't go away? Herpes,
the first one could go away.
Okay, well, see what I mean? Then it's like really good chlamydia.
That's why you need to go to med school.
Right.
That's right.
So it's like it's not going anywhere, and it's not going anywhere.
Right. No, not at this point. That's for sure. No.
It's very interesting you say that because it is. I recognize that now at 50.
Right.
That no matter how I try to live my life for the last 25, 30 years, especially, there has always been an element of me finding a way to either be in front of a microphone, be on a stage, in addition to everything else that I've tried to do in my life, like have a regular job and do all that. Even with all of those things, I still find myself, wanting a gig. I cover theater, I do stuff like that. I mean, I'm in it in such a way that I didn't.
He has a podcast called Curtain Call, and he interviews
everybody. If
everybody on Broadway.
Everyone I can on Broadway, off Broadway.
All the best ones acting like now, like right now. All of the best actors. I'll name them all. Bob. There's Richie.
De Niro?
Maria's there too. The girl who sings well from the Tigers, from the Tiger show. The one from the Tiger show, the Lion show. And so we're kindred like that. But yeah, it's like a disease. I call it a disease because you can't ever. It never goes away.
And I feel like it's when you say disease. Like I remember someone always saying that disease is like when you break it down, dis-ease, and there's no easy way to live when you have that in you. You know what I mean? And so you're always going to be uncomfortable until you figure out a way to get it into your world. I mean, I have to tell you, even working in a place that was supposed to have been a quote unquote creative place that I did for 10 years, and the last like 3 or 4 years when I was really trying to expand and open and it was not being able to happen because it was a kind of a corporate environment.
Sirius XM, by the way.
Yeah, well, he said it.
Yeah.
Because I don't want him to take back my
the morning show on Sirius XM for 10 years.
For 10 years.
Yeah.
And then even in that environment, I didn't get to do everything that I felt artistically I could bring. And so it's very strange now, especially since that period has been gone, 16, 18, 17 months or something since then, that I have consistently spent the last, and like I'm working even harder now. And my roommate said it to me the other day. She goes, dude, you're a fucking comedian. Like, why are you not doing comedy and being funny? Because that's how you used to make your money before. And I thought, you're right. I forgot
it's
that I had
DNA.
that part of
it's
me.
in your bones,
and
man. It's not going anywhere.
Storytelling is in my bones. All of that stuff is in my bones. And so like now it's just bridging a way of all of these pieces of my life and bringing them together so that I can spend the next, 25, 30 years of my life, if I'm living that long, truly doing the shit that I want to do.
And that's the key.
And that's the key.
That's you should see him perform, a storyteller. It's not like this joke, like set up punchline. He tells a story. He's really, really good. Yeah. He's performing, all the best stand-ups are really good actors. Yeah. I think they're people that are sharing, the stories and the stuff that keeps you interested.
Yeah.
But
this comes to mind. I mean, I know that you talk about we know you're a caveman, but it's also true that the people who tend to sit around this table it's a wide range of people, right? Because you're curious about people.
Sure.
And you bring that storytelling in a way because you're asking people to tell you their stories.
Yep. Right.
And so that's, you have a window into all of this stuff because of what you do.
Yep.
Yeah. You understand what it's about. Whether I read lines from a script or I interview or I tell jokes to people with social commentary and I get them to think about, an important issue while I make them laugh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is your campfire.
It's kin. It's all a kin.
Yeah,
right?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Well, at the end of the day, from when I asked you how old you were when you realized, and immediately you said 11. You were 11. I didn't even have to finish the question. Because I think we all had that moment. Afrim has the same. How old were you? when you watching TV and since you were a child.
Yeah, like 5 or 6.
Yeah.
But it was like I told you before, man. It was tied to like those martial arts movies. You see the
It's cool.
hero saving the day and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god, that's so cool.
Yeah.
You know, and it was attached to a movie. And you do. I guess everyone kind of has that. If they have that, they know when those moments were.
You know who shares it with me is like my favorite. He's like my constant audience is my friend Bruno, who you haven't met yet. I do the show with him. He knows me the best out of most of my friends, and we'll be anywhere. And if somebody walks in or walks by and has a lisp, is wearing their hair a certain way, or has a fucked up eyebrow, or something, his head slowly goes to me, and I just start either imitating, ripping that person apart.
He just needs a taste of the TJ influence on that. How do you feel about this?
Like one guy walked into a room and his face was all messed up, and we were at like some film festival, and he was supposed to be giving a seminar, and he came in just all pretentious and like kind of almost good looking, but not like the guy. So he walks in, and Bruno just turns to me looking for the line, and I go, Johnny Depp just got hit by a truck. And he fucking falls out laughing. So it's those observations, man. You know, his favorite. Yeah, we got a lot of them, but that's where comedy comes from. Acting. That's where stories come from. You know, that fucking compulsion to create, to react, to say things.
There's an awesome book in that Shakespearean sense of awesome, Hero with 1,000 Faces. Joseph Campbell.
Of course.
And he talks about
never.
You never heard about it? It's literally exactly what you're talking about.
Soup
it's
guy?
how exactly. The hodgepodge of soups. But
I'm gonna write that down. Hold on.
Hero with 1,000 Faces.
It's about plastic surgery.
Yes. It is actually. It's about how this guy it's the prequel to Dark Man when he's able to switch the faces out.
Good. I don't know that either, but good.
Perfect.
No? Liam Neeson?
Of course I do.
I was gonna say, man.
So after you did your first play, Charles.
Yeah.
We can edit that out. We'll take that whole section
we're gonna
out.
leave everything in.
Whenever you say edit it
all
out,
of
that
my-
means it definitely has
definitely
to
not
stay.
gonna-
All my stupidity stays in, my friend.
But it essentially talks about the storytelling element that's in every story that's ever existed, from mythology to religion to yada yada.
There's similar elements, right?
No matter what culture you are, no matter what, that storytelling element is there,
It's
and
like-
they all have kind of the same circle of development.
Love.
99.9.
It's love. It's betrayal, stuff like that. Is that what you mean? Like the elements of a story? And I got to read that book.
Yeah.
Read that for me and let me know how it is,
Absolutely, absolutely.
Because I'm not good with
Keith doing the audiobook version for
Yes.
you know what?
You
I
were
have
pre-med.
I have a hard time understanding those things when all the letters form what's that thing called?
you. Sentence?
Word. Sentence?
Sentence? Okay.
Word, sentence.
You should know that word.
Yeah,
Sentence.
Ladies and gentlemen, Charles Goforth. Yes, indeed.
That was good.
That was fantastic. I also know the word appeal. Bail herring. Dude,
Rid of
wait a
habeas
minute.
corpus.
We can't just
I got
glaze
this.
over the fact that you directed Philip Seymour Hoffman your first play out of college.
No, it
was one of the first
It was
plays.
the third.
It was. Oh, I'm sorry, third.
it was the third.
My
But
bad,
that's a pretty
son.
big one. That's
My
pretty
bad,
big.
yo.
Yeah, out of graduate school.
Out of graduate school.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
How do you get that? How do you become the director of that?
well, I was very lucky. I was very lucky.
I don't know. It's a little bit more than luck, isn't it?
A friend of
Being
mine,
humble.
a friend of mine named David Dellinger from Performing Arts was a founding member of Labyrinth Theater Company, and he knew that I was just getting out of graduate school, and he was like, "Hey, we're doing this. We've just begun this theater company, and one of the actors in the company has written his first play." No, that's how I got into Labyrinth, and then a couple years later, Stephen Adler wrote a play, and it was a play about construction workers. Corrupt construction workers taking on the take, and union questions and racial questions. It was called Race, Religion, Politics. Taking its title from what you're never supposed to talk about at a bar.
Oh, that's
TJ
great.
TJ Stone biography.
I
biography.
love that.
Oh shit!
What
So-
you're not supposed to talk about.
So,
I love it.
And then by that time, Phil was not a founding member of Labyrinth, which sometimes gets confused because he was obviously so deserving of so much attention, but he was the facts are that he was not a founding member. So by that time, Phil had joined the company, and so I was directing Stephen's work at that point because I had directed Stephen's first play, and then I had directed another play, and it had gone well. So I was sort of Stephen's director.
Yeah.
And then the third or
Well, it's
the-
got to feel good that the first
Oh,
and
it was
second
great.
plays
Yeah, it was
that
great.
they go well, right?
And Philip was in one of those. One that was Race, Religion, Politics was, I think, Stephen's third or fourth play, and so it was with Labyrinth. We did it downtown at the Here Arts Center, and it was terrifically performed. The actors were incredible, and and we did right, I think, too, by Stephen's work, and so
Yeah.
it was a memory. It's one of those memories,
Well, it's incredible.
yeah, I
you
mean,
know?
but the privilege of working with really great people is that you don't have any delusions about your own.
Interesting.
You just where you fit. You start to get a
that's
sense
a
of
talent, though. That's a talent to
Yeah.
know when to lean back.
how to be helpful
And to know,
how to
know.
be helpful.
And
as
you
opposed
worked
to,
with Gergis.
Gergis. Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Pulitzer Prize winning Gergis.
Yeah,
Gergis.
that's
That's a
right.
good prize to win.
That's a good
great prize to win.
Yeah, he won it. Yeah,
Look, TJ, that's a good one. That's like a discount at Costco. That's a good one.
I wouldn't go that far, but okay.
Because he's
sorry,
getting
I'm
ready.
thinking of-
Actually, though, he's getting ready to do with Treat Williams. This is because I met them earlier this year at
Yeah.
the Dorset Theater Festival.
Oh, that's right, American Buffalo.
American Buffalo,
That's
and the
right.
director,
John Gould Rubin.
exactly, who is from Labyrinth as well.
Yeah, that's right. That's
so
right.
I met all of those.
What a
That-
crazy
he
time,
said-
cool.
man.
He said
cool.
when he said his name, he had
good
that look
stuff.
like, I know him.
You both are in the
Like
mix.
you had that look like, I know him.
Yeah, I know him. I know.
They
Yeah,
wanted
that
me to
guy.
play the lead
That
in
guy.
that, but I'm doing Transformers, the musical,
Yes.
during that time. So I wish
Which
you.
I'm really looking forward to, by the way.
Thank you, man.
When I heard that you had gotten that part,
Yeah.
I was like, absolutely, that's exactly the right thing.
Yeah,
I
thank
was
you.
jealous because he's not
pre-order
even
your
really a
tickets?
baritone.
Yeah.
Pre-order your tickets at TJ
We're
Stone.
going to be using some music effects, some audio effects on my voice for that. And actually, I'm having part of my throat removed as
You're a method actor.
method.
Very method.
You know, I was going to ask you about method. I swear to God.
Master of segue.
I was going to ask you Meisner method. Where does it all? Is Meisner method and what is method? What is Meisner like? Because you hear a lot.
around.
But
Yeah,
what
yeah,
is
yeah.
it? What is it?
Well, I think the answer will differ according to who you ask. But
Right.
my best, most generously succinct answer, I think, is basically that the word method was made up by people early on to describe the work that was coming out of the group theater. Lee Strasberg was the master acting teacher within the group theater, and he had spent some time in Russia and brought that work back over here, and that was called the method. And in the 50s, the idea of actually using real memories and actually suffering, for the layman, that word became the equivalent of what was starting to look like American acting. Marlon Brando, right?
So it was essentially
Like you're really having a real experience.
basically somebody put thought behind what they're doing.
Yeah.
Put some thought behind what we're doing.
Yeah. But that was, it was amazing to see people like that doing real things like that on stage and in film. And so it got notoriety. Right, that
Sure.
like the method. It was like, wow, this kind of
this
acting.
is-
This is a kind of acting we haven't really seen a lot of
Right,
before.
right,
you know?
right.
So, but really, it got falsely. It became this umbrella word for all American acting teaching, and it's not. It's not. It's one particular time period. That label was applied in the 50s to something that was being done at that time, and now it's really used to talk about Strasberg as opposed to Meisner or Adler or Uta Hagen, whose work would not be called the method by people within those circles.
What's the difference between Meisner? What would people's perceived difference between Meisner and method be?
Well, traditionally method is about what's called effective memory, which is that you're bringing up actual memories of your own emotional life to tap into the emotional life of the character. That you're using real experiences, whether even on stage, to create an emotional life that looks like the right kind of emotion for what's supposed to be happening in the scene. And Meisner said, well, wait a second. Actors are already shy, believe it or not. Good ones are. It's true. And they're already sensitive. So if you put them on stage and you get them thinking about their dead cousin in order to cry, they're going to get more introverted and more shy and more frozen and more what we call in their head, because they're going to know that that's not actually what's going on.
Right.
And you're asking you're asking for the actor's personal life to be what's happening in the scene, which is not what's happening in the scene, because this is an imaginary circumstance. So Meisner, in fact, departed from what's called emotional memory or affective memory and said, you know what, why don't we just use our imaginations?
That's like the story that Bruno loves to tell when he says, what the famous actor said to Dustin Hoffman, why don't you try acting?
Laurence Olivier.
Was that it?
Yes, in the Marathon Man.
That's Meisner.
Because, you know, there's that
Meisner said,
scene.
try acting.
He was like out all night. He was supposed to like look all haggard and tired and worn out, and he like stayed out all night and just drank and did all kinds of whatever it is that he needed to do to look and feel really haggard. And Lawrence was like sitting in the director chair looking at him going, I'm just act. What are you doing?
Acting.
You know, but I guess it's funny when you say that using your emotions to pull all that stuff into the scene in order to be able to create that moment. When you say that you don't want them to get into their heads enough to go back to channel that emotion to pull it out, then what are you supposed to do? Are you just supposed to, I can make myself cry on cue because I'm sad, and that's the way it should be?
No. In fact, emotions, William Esper says this great thing about emotion and action, right? If you want to build something, right, like performance, let's use the analogy of a structure, a wall of some kind. So actions are the bricks, right? I'm going to encourage you that it's time for us to, move to Minnesota. I'm going to scold you and then I'm going to, and you are doing things on stage. So those are the bricks, the actions. The emotional life is like the mortar that you use to sort of, you spread them on top, you put the next row of bricks, If you've got both, terrific. If you are on stage on a Wednesday matinee, and you don't have it, and you can't make it. You can't make emotion.
Right.
So you have the bricks, you can still build the wall. You can still build with bricks. But if all you've got is the emotion, right, like which is the mortar, you can't build shit.
Yeah.
So the emotional life that happens on stage has to be an organic byproduct of what you're doing. And if you've done your homework and you've understood that character and what you have in common and why that character is upset about this thing, and now I go on stage and I'm not thinking about now it's time to cry. I'm thinking about now it's time to get that person, right, out of my car because my father just scolded me in a way that makes me feel like I'm 7. And if I don't get her out of the car, I'm either going to hit her or I'm going to be humiliated. So I'm screaming at her to get out of my car. Now, if I'm doing that and I end up upset, it's a byproduct of what I'm doing. Right. And that's the only way to create emotion that's actually emotion. Everything else is fake bullshit.
Exactly.
And so if I'm on stage trying to emote, right?
Just rough to watch too.
One of the best ways to think of this is no good director ever has said lights, camera, emotion.
Right. That's
action.
it.
How long have you been studying with Charles Ephraim?
The first. Oh my God, this is amazing that you mentioned this because it like literally is a life-changing moment for me, not just in acting, but I would say 2008. There was a Labyrinth masterclass.
Yeah, fall of 2000. It was the fall.
Almost 10 years, my man.
A very good friend of mine, James Flavel, had taken the class maybe the year prior or when they did.
He's having Charles is having flashbacks. He's having flashbacks right now.
So a good friend of mine had taken the class. He said it's a really great class, and then I signed up for it, and then they had a number of professors. or teachers, members of the Labyrinth Theater Company that came together to teach this masterclass. And they had brought Charles on as the scene study or acting, like specifically talking about scenes and acting. And I'm doing this scene, and I start doing it, and Charles just kind of stops and he's like, what are you doing? And we're talking about the scene. He goes, you don't know anything yet.
He said it to you?
Yeah, like you don't know anything yet in regard to the scene. Like he wasn't being abusive about it, but he was just like, essentially there was the subtext of like, stop fucking around. Like you don't know this part of it yet. You're anticipating it. And it wasn't like a negative thing. Wow. It was just a real moment. He's like, you don't know anything yet. Meaning in regard to that. Mm-hmm. So we do the scene, do it a couple times over, and then there's that look of acknowledgement, like, yeah, now you're starting to get it, like moment to moment. Okay. I'm on the train back home, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I don't know anything yet. I don't know anything yet. Like life, I don't know anything yet. No, dude, I'm on the train like
you're like questioning everything.
Like, I'm
now.
like, I miss my stop. I walk back. I'm like, and so
I don't know who I am.
Yeah,
I don't know anything.
I was like, when's this motherfucker teaching another class?
Why am I wearing these shoes?
I'm about to take it.
Yeah. Why did I pick these shoes out? What does it really mean?
Yeah.
Why am I wearing this blue shirt?
You made him question his whole existence.
No, that was it. But I was also probably slightly suffering from that, like, outside of school thing of like, you know, maybe the attention or the idea of the attention was a little more important than what was being said or serving the story. And I think that brought to the forefront of like, you don't know anything. Or do you actually, do you have enough guts to be there and not know?
Right.
And I was like, okay, this is somebody that I need to spend more time with.
It's similar to him coming out of college.
Yeah.
Being like, yeah.
Telling his actors to what
Yeah.
God, everybody goes through it at every level. It's amazing,
yeah,
right?
No, it's true. It's true. You think you know what you're doing, and then somebody just reminds you that
there's levels.
You don't quite really yet know.
It's always funny though whenever you meet someone who has spent a lot of time scholarly learning their acting technique or whatever, and then you get the opportunity to just see them next to a real person and having whatever conversations they need to have about acting. I should say with someone with less experience, shall we say, or less training. And there's always that sense of, I know I'm doing this so much better than you because I've gone to the Fon School of Sheboygan to learn how to fucking act. And you,
I had applied there. I didn't get in.
Yeah, I didn't. Neither did I.
I did. I turned it down.
I didn't really like
to
the
get in,
music
guys.
program.
Mostly Italian guys. Me and my friends.
Thank you for joining us on 3 People Like This. To stay up to date on all things 3PLT, please subscribe to our weekly newsletter so you'll always know when our latest episodes are up. For the complete 3PLT experience, please visit our Digibro at 3peoplelikethis.com, where in addition to all of our episodes, you'll find exclusive bonus content, such as how-to videos, song parodies, and things other people like. And be sure to check out our weekly 3 People Like This sideshow featuring no-holds-barred behind-the-scenes banter and juicy bits from the cutting room floor, as well as content we hope no minor ever gets to hear. 3peoplelikethis.com, exclusively on Digibro, powered by freedomsdesign.com. For all your online business digital solutions, creating marketing assets and digital tools for companies who are ready to invest in themselves. freedomsdesign.com. Wow your audience. Bro, it's Digibro, bro. See you next time on 3 People Like This, because life is content.